seasons don't fear the reaper. The wind, the sun, or the rain, we can be like they are.
I want to talk in this message about the importance of not fearing death, accepting death as something which is a guidance and a redirection to somebody's soul. A soul who decided that the best way towards growth and towards ascension was death. A soul which decided that this full renewal was necessary to continue its path. As humanity continues its evolution, death will be every time less necessary. Souls will not need this renewal of death to continue growing, because growth will be possible already while being alive. To say it in a simple way, if you keep yourself in a healthy state, you will not need a medical surgery. But if you get really sick, that may be the best option. The extreme renewal of death is never a negative thing. It's actually a choice from that soul, a choice for the better. And it's not a bad experience at all for the person who dies. It's actually all the opposite. I know it may sound strange and ironic that the way towards immortality is to accept death and to not fear death. But let me explain it. The cause for all sickness and decline of the physical body is not time. There is no reason why being alive and moving from one day to another should destroy your physical body in any way. Time doesn't have a destructive nature. If you see a newborn baby, the body of that baby is not decaying and is not getting destroyed while the time goes by. When a baby is born with a pure connection with God, and still the baby didn't have time to accumulate negative vibration, that baby just grows and flourishes. The same thing happens to a kid or to a teenager. They hold a vibration which is still pure, which still has a very strong connection to God. And time just has a positive effect on that bodies, because they haven't been on earth enough to get their vibration polluted. Then it's understood by the culture of earth that once that person has reached adulthood, suddenly time has a complete different nature and time becomes destructive to the body of that person. Then that person starts declining physically. As you can see if you look at people around you, that decline happens not at the same speed for every person. If the decline was caused by time, everybody will decline exactly at the same speed, according to the time that they have been on earth. But you can see that everybody is not having that decline at the same time. The reason for the decline is an accumulation of negative vibration, and every single person has a different accumulation of that vibration. Some people can keep their natural connection with God and enthusiastic vibration for longer time. Sometimes it depends on the culture they come from, on how they identify with every different age, or the decisions they feel pushed to take at every different age. That slowly change the vibration of that person, and that slowly shapes the body of that person. The culture on earth has been really focused on manipulating the nature of humans, on manipulating the natural power of humans. That by the time a human is 7 years old, that person has already lost most of the natural things and natural abilities a human being should have. And for some people that goes on and on for their entire life. When they get into a point where they are completely disconnected from their own soul, when they are completely unable to grow anymore, when they lost their will to be here, the soul decides that it's necessary to get a complete different psyche, to get a complete different childhood, a complete different body. Because the cells of that body have been already too intoxicated for a long time of holding the same negative vibration. Then that soul decides to move on in that way through dying, through going through death. The soul never dies, but I meant through letting that body die. That is not the only cause of decline, as for some people it goes in a different way. They just really believe it, and they really accept it. They believe focusing on their body makes them less spiritual, or makes them less admirable, makes their souls less valuable. They unconsciously reject their body as if it was part of a complete different nature than their soul. And through that belief, caused by many religions, they go through that self-created decline that they created through their own mind and beliefs, and that they took in as something positive. For those people, even if you can see that they are going through a decline, usually they can keep themselves very energetic and healthy for a very long time. The lifestyle that you believe you should have at certain age, the personality that you believe you should have at certain age, all these things are literally shaping every cell of your body. It sounds like a very simple thing. How is it possible that that has such a strong effect in your body? But think about it. Think about all the constant brainwash that you are having every single day of your life, through your friends, through all the media that you are watching, through everything around you, through the movies you watch, about what every age means, different goals you should have, things that you are able to do at some point, not able to do at some other time in your life, behaviors which are belonging to a group of age, behaviors which are belonging to another group of age. All this is creating things in your mind which will eventually create it also in your body. Of course, another reason for the decline is unsolved trauma. When you are holding too much negative emotions, when you have not been able to digest all the pain that you had to endure in this life, then your soul naturally craves to just give you the best you could have as a spirit and to just start over. Little by little, while humanity is evolving, humans are going to experience less amount of trauma. Kids are going to be treated in a completely different way. Parents are going to work on themselves emotionally before they have children. Nobody's going to be obliged anymore socially or by their families to have kids. Society in general is going to wake up and understand the human nature more and more. And it will be easier to keep your natural connection with God, to keep your natural joy, to allow yourself to enjoy, to follow your true wishes, to do all those things which are natural for human beings and which will keep you alive for a much longer time, naturally. You are now living the transition between an old world and a new world. Every single person on earth now has some level of pain and trauma from the old world that they need to work on because of the common ideas that have been given to people on earth during all these centuries of the old world. But with this new age of Aquarius, this new stage, this new era of planet Earth, many humans will be born with the proper conditions to develop their potential and to activate parts of their DNA which you also have right now, but which you could not activate because of not being in the proper conditions. Of course, I am not saying you cannot activate it right now, but because of all the baggage that you are carrying from the old world, it may take time to fully unprogram yourself, to fully heal emotionally, and to fully shift your energy. But please always keep in mind that the power that every single one of you has is beyond your imagination. Wanting to reach immortality or just deciding that you don't want your physical body to decline, it's a very positive thing, because it will force you and it will go together with being in alignment with the energy of God. Because you cannot achieve that, or you cannot take that path if you are not connected to high vibrational energies. Just the idea of it helps the growth of your soul and of you as a human immensely. Even people who don't label themselves of somebody who is going through a spiritual path, when they somehow had the courage to decide over their own lives, to decide to experience joy, to achieve true self-love, or simply to connect with a rebellious and enthusiastic spirit, you will see that those people, they will go through a much slower decline than others. Because even if they don't call that spiritual, or even if they haven't even been aware of what they were doing, just by keeping those qualities as a person, they tapped into high energies, high frequencies. I'm sure all of you have seen people that they don't take care of themselves much physically. They don't follow very healthy diets. They don't follow healthy routines. But they never get sick and they look healthy. This is because even if in this channel I gave you health advices, because those are valuable, those can make a difference for some people in the way you experience your connection with your own body and in the way the energy of God flows through your body. Being healthy is important. But it's also important to remember that a healthy diet or a healthy lifestyle is not the fountain of youth, as you are literally receiving electrical impulses on every cell of your body through your thoughts, through your emotions. And that is the biggest influence your body goes through. Your body is just an hologram and a manifestation of your state inside as a soul, of your vibration inside. That's also the reason why, sadly, some so-called health gurus, or even some gurus who talked about immortality, who discovered that this was real and met people who achieved that, those gurus, they died at quite young age. And sadly they got harshly judged by other people. But the reason they didn't succeed with the things that they were claiming that were possible to achieve, like immortality, is because they focused too much on physical practices. Those physical practices were really good and were really helpful, could be helpful for many people and were accurate. But while they were doing this research about how to keep the human body alive for a long time, they didn't realize that they were obsessing over death. They were obsessing over their fear of death. The idea of how to avoid death was in their minds continuously. Their job was about it. They unconsciously focused on the fragility of the human body and unconsciously perceived the human body as something physical which requires hard work to maintain. And they focused so much on lowliness, on purification, very strict routines, that they absolutely forgot how to recover their childhood spirit, their childlike spirit. They forgot how to enjoy life, how to feel they have a reason to be alive. To say it in a simple way, if your reason to be alive is to avoid death, that is not gonna work. If your reason to be alive is avoiding something, you are going to unconsciously call up that thing into your life. Also, if you forgot any kind of enthusiasm, of dreams, connection with people, if you forgot what makes your heart beat, you are not gonna be able to stick to this reality, to stick to earth for a long time. Because your soul will understand that there is nothing here which is making you grow, and your soul will understand that you have to move on to something else, and will do that. All that energy, your entire energetic system is going to be way stronger than any single diet you have, breathing exercises that you have, is going to win over all those other things, even if those other things were helpful and were good. That's why I want to remind you of the importance of really enjoying life. Allowing yourself to be really happy, to have all the pleasure that you deserve, putting yourself first, fulfilling all your dreams and wishes. You have to remember that you have been going through a huge brainwash which has poisoned you to believe that suffering is somehow admirable, that suffering means to be very elevated as a human being, that if you want to be loved and accepted by others, you cannot put yourself first, that suffering is necessary for you to achieve anything good. You cannot simply achieve something good. It's like if you don't deserve it. You need to first suffer, and then you are admirable for what you have achieved through that suffering. You cannot take care of yourself too much or have a very high idea about who you are, because that will be arrogant, that won't be humble, that won't make you a beautiful person. All those toxic ideas are embedded in your brain and in your vibration. And you have to always remember that those are just lies. Lies which has been moving from generation to generation. Because of the current state of evolution that you are in, it's true that suffering sometimes it can help you to give you the contrast necessary for you to see the light. When you are in the darkness, sometimes you get a little push to stick to the light. You don't have other option than to stick to the light. Very often, the most highly evolved souls, they choose to come here and to have this kind of contrast of the suffering, because they want to have this experience. But that doesn't mean suffering gives you anything good. That doesn't mean you need suffering to evolve. You don't need suffering for anything. You don't need suffering at all to be admired. You don't need suffering to love. Suffering is just darkness, and you don't need it in any way, and you don't need to look for it, consciously or unconsciously. What will heal the common wound of earth the collective wound of humanity, is to remember how much you deserve, how much happiness you deserve, how worthy you are. To understand that you cannot love anyone and you cannot give beauty to anyone if you don't put yourself first and experience those things. That you cannot give hope and joy to anyone if you haven't experienced those things first, if you are not rooted on those things. That you cannot make anyone enjoy if you are not enjoying. The brainwash has been so strong that it gave to many people the idea that even enjoying life and being happy is somehow evil.